Hello everyone, we're going to talk about display color calibration today. So one of the things that this solves is when you make a print, you have what you did on your computer screen, and it turns out different on a printer. It maybe turns out darker or duller than you expected. So we can solve that by making sure that we have our display looking like what comes out on the print. Now, one of the things that we talk about in digital media is that a display is much brighter. It's lit from behind, and a print paper is not lit from behind. It would be lit from whatever lighting that you have. So it doesn't actually have as much of the brightness as you would have on a computer screen or on any sort of display, a television or a cell phone. So one of the things to really look for is we have a moving target. So what we'll try to do today is to calibrate our display so that what you make on your display works for all kinds of media, whether it's print or working for mobile or working for on the web. So that's what I'm going to help you out with today. Right now on the screen you're looking at a color match guide, and all these colors, this is a very wide range of colors. We have the grayscale and we've got all of the different hues and saturations in this color set. So in this assignment we're going to go to digital color calibration, and you're going to choose your computer. You're going to choose that you're going to do a Mac or a PC. I'm going to go through the Mac display right now, and so the display calibration, we're going to click on this, will take us to this site, kcaddlc.org, and it's the color settings display calibration for the Mac, and you're going to follow this step by step, and I'm actually going to do this with you. Okay, so you're going to be printing, for example, on the printer named Walt on the 7th floor. You should calibrate that printer for that, your profile on your computer for that printer. If you print on any of other printers, you need to make sure that you make a calibration for that printer. Each printer will also behave differently, just as each screen will behave differently. You'll notice that a Mac display will be much brighter and have a different color settings than our Cintiqs, or if you test things on the Dell displays or on a Samsung television. All of these are really quite different, and so we really try to make things work in all of those settings. So note, the adjusting of the brightness of your computer screen will affect the brightness and contrast. Calibrate your screen at full brightness, and remember to check your colors with a full screen at full brightness while working. So if you, so what we'll do is we'll go into this and we'll go to System Preferences, and that's pulled up right over here. So let me pull it over, and I'm going to gather windows because it's probably behind there. Yep. So I'm going to go to Display and Color. I believe it's actually, for that, it is only on your computer, so it is on a Mac. It's located up on the top, and it's like a sunshine. It's a great big sunshine or a little sunshine for not very bright. So I'm going to just right now brighten. So this, you can see, was the brighten, and this is lighten. I'm not sure if the recording is capturing that, but I'm going to brighten all the way up. So even if you're in a dark room, I want you guys to work with this fully bright. It's actually a pretty important thing in terms of color calibration. So please do that. So full brightness is working. Now we're going to print the Safe Colors image. If you click on this, it will take you to this, and you'll then print it on Walt or any other printer you have. And bingo, I'm like Rachel Ray. Here's a finished result on the kind of paper that I would be using. So we really like to use the good paper that is high quality and be able to hold the ink on the top of it. So make sure you use the good paper. So I printed that out. So that's talking about the substrate. All calibrations will be different for each printer. So there's our color. Keep the file image on your screen to compare it to your print. So this is where it might be tricky to show you this on the video. So what I will be doing is I'm going to have this image pulled up on my screen while I hold next to my computer and not in front of, because if I hold it in front of my computer it will be backlit. So I want to kind of put it on my keyboard or a little bit under so I can kind of type. That helps me to set that up. So keep the image on your screen, go to System Preferences, Display Color. So that's the Apple. System Preferences, Display Color. So that is right here in displays and then into color. So the next thing to do is to choose the display mode that is standard for your display. So color LCD for MacBook Pros, iMac. So we're trying to decide what it is that we're using. So let me find that again. So I happen to be on a MacBook Pro right now, and so I'm going to choose the color LCD and calibrate that. So then hold the Option key and click Calibrate. So that's different, and that will actually help you to do a little bit more than if we, that's the Pro thing. So we're going to hold down Option, and we're going to click Calibrate. Okay, so that allows you to check the expert mode, make sure that that is checked. Follow the steps in the calibration menu, paying specific attention to white temperature. One of the things that's a little bit different about what we're doing than what the Mac setup wants us to do is what they're going to take you through is to have the perfect Mac setting. What we're really trying to do is to make sure that we can match the print, and that's what will feel different. So follow the steps in the calibration menu. I'll show you when it becomes different. So I'm going to click expert mode and then hit continue. And this is what doesn't come up if you don't hit expert mode. So make sure that you are doing that. So really what it will want you to do is make sure that this apple matches into the picture, but this is where it becomes different, and I'll show you. I'm going to put these things side by side so that I can see them all. So what we really want to do is really concentrate on what needs to happen with these greens and oranges and reds to match this. So I'm going to take this up and down until it starts to match. And this will be different for everybody's display and everybody's computer. So don't try to match where I put my little points for yours. So I'm noticing that on my screen it's much brighter. Now I'm in the midtones right now. I can always go through these. It's going to be midtones, darks, lights, and it'll take you back through them multiple times. So I'm going to just hit continue and play with them until I start to get it kind of where I feel like it's right. Now, I actually haven't calibrated my screen for maybe about a year, and things have adjusted in that time because your display will get a little bit older, and that will change the hue and saturation and what this image will look like. So when I'm playing with this, I can see that these are getting much more saturated, and that's what I'm watching for, that I don't want that to be too saturated from what I see on my screen or on my paper. So on the paper it's much lighter and not as saturated. So I pushed this way too far. So sometimes it's good to see what happens when you go too far and then bring it back in and see what happens. These are over here, some of the flesh tones and what happens to them. You can watch to see if they still say somewhat neutral with reds or greens within them. Now, if you happen to be colorblind, some of this may be a little bit more difficult for you, and we want you to work with us, find a faculty or someone one of the DLC staff to assist you with that. And I'm actually also going to be going through colorblind hue and saturation also in a later video. So now I'm in my darks. So this dark row is really, you can see that I'm affecting this section right here. So that's when I go really dark. So I want to make sure that the values are matching pretty well. On my print, these purples feel darker than the greens. So I'm going to kind of play with this here. Okay, so I'm going to continue that. And also this is playing with the darks, and this doesn't have a kind of a round thing, it just goes up and down. That's value, and this is color, temperature. So it goes to the greens and to the yellows. This is actually CMYK right here. Okay, so once you've gone through that sequence, this should be pretty matched. And so after you get to that, I'm going to take us back to our tutorial. So this is talking about the dark apples and the light apples. Target gamma is something different, and we're recommending that max standard is generally lighter in the white point, and the PC standard is darker in the white point. So I'd like for you to uncheck the use native gamma. So you uncheck it and try moving the toggle in between on the Mac and the PC, or all the way on the PC. This might be a closer match to non-reflective substrates. So so I'm going to bring this image up. I'm going to pull up my print. I'm going to match so this is going really light, and that's too light for what this is. I know, even though I'm not looking at it, and that's going to be too dark. So now I'm going to actually look at it with my eyeballs and try to get a good match. And that's actually pretty good. So what I want you guys to do, and this actually might look different from what you see on the screen next to you, because your display might be different. So it'll be interesting to see how this video turns out. But this essentially, in this project, we are matching a print to your display with a set of colors. So we've adjusted it to make it be print ready, so that all your files don't get too bright, and you don't expect. One of the things that I really, in terms of, happen to see quite a bit is in these oranges. Someone uses a super bright orange. On your computer, you can get a really super bright orange because there's light behind it. And it happens in all of those bright areas, but you have to dull it on your screen in order for it to match the print. So we like to make sure that we have a moving target. This is part of the moving target. I'm going to hit continue for the target gamma. And then target white points. Let's talk about that. Select target white points. If your whites and lights are more red in your point, move the point and white points towards red. If more blue, more towards the blue, etc. So I'm going to uncheck, and that way I'm going to be able to move it. So uncheck the target white points. I'm going to look at this again in combination to this, because you can move this around. So this is originally set at 6500. What happens if you move it this direction or this direction? And this is one of the things that really happens with older machines, is that you will tend to have your machine go more towards your yellow or more towards your blue as your computer ages. So, and this is really true of like the Dell monitors that we have here at KCAD, so something to really check for. So this will happen in this white area. So I'm checking my whiteness against this. And if you know that you're going to be printing on a beige paper, that would be something you can actually make this beige, but you would have that be a color profile just set for that particular color. Would be pretty unusual. So let's hit continue. Normally this assistant creates calibrated. So we're going to check allow other users to use this calibration. Let's check to see if that's correct. Save it with your specific printer name and the date. So I'm going to hit continue, and so with your specific printer name, so I printed it on Walt, and The date happens to be 1-9-20, and I'm going to put dashes instead of slashes because I want you guys to get used to file naming that doesn't use slashes, because we do that for web. Susan, I'm going to put my name on it, Bonner MacBook Pro, because if we can share that between other people's computers, then we know that it's my machine. So I'm going to hit continue. Do I know my password? All right, so I figured out what my password is. You always want to write that stuff down. Okay, so I have named my printer profile, and this is what came up, the conclusion bar. So then I'm going to, you can see all these changes, you can see the name of it, and I'll now say done. And so now in System Preferences, you're going to go to Display, uncheck Automatic Brightnesses. So with our Mac, we're going to go to the Apple and System Preferences, Display. So automatically adjust brightness. This is what I want you to have down. So this is what, when you go into a dark space, it will make the display darker, and it's supposed to be easier on your eyes. When you're actually working for web and for print, I want you to have that unchecked so that you are really trying to work to match what is your new color calibration, to make sure that what you have on your display is what will come out on your printer. So that is going to be unchecked. So make sure that that is done. So now let's talk about this. When you toggle between your printer calibration and your native web calibration, the print one should look darker. You will probably still have to make adjustments to your files after your first, you print your first proof, but this will get you close. So if I go to color, and so your native web one is really whatever is your standard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys this this color match guide again. This is the one that's set up for print, and we'll see now the difference for color LCD is quite different, and it's meant to be, because what comes out on print is different than what's on web. So what we've just done is we now know how a file will look when we put it on the web. That is right now I'm using a Mac, that's the Mac full good display according to them. And this is what is for wall. So I will toggle between the two when I'm testing my files, and I want everybody to, as you continue to work with this idea of a moving target, you're going to go into your color in your system preferences and check between the two. We will also, when we're saving for web, do that as well. I'll show you how to do that in later videos, but this is good for now. You will now be able to match what is on your screen to what comes out on the printer, and that will give you a lot more confidence that whatever you made in Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Animate, whatever you guys are using, matches the print, and that will be pretty awesome. Thanks, and we'll talk later in another video. Bye.